was odd. He had a heart condition. He was in UCLA hospital. It was over medication with anesthesia.
Was he a baby?
He was 14. He's got two other sisters. He's a Good evening, afternoon, no matter where you are in the city. Welcome to From the Halls of Justice. And today we have the lovely, beautiful, vivacious Talitha Wegner. And Talitha is a family law, well, she's going to be a specialist very soon, but she's a family law attorney. And if I had an issue or a situation, you are the person I'd want to come to. This woman cares so much about her clients. It's amazing. It's an honor to have you here. So, may I call you Tally?
Please do. I think it's a little bit less of a mouthful, so everyone calls me Tally. So
Okay. Well, let me ask you something. Your name is beautiful and exotic, and you're beautiful. Where are you from, and how did your mother come up with Talitha?
Actually, so I'm from England. I was born in
Yeah.
London,
Mhm.
and I moved here when I was 16 to the East Coast. My father worked for an American bank and was transferred to the New York office, and so that's how I ended up here. The name is actually in the Bible. There's actually a chapter, John, where apparently Jesus says Talitha Kumi, and in Aramaic that means maiden rise. However, how I got the name isn't quite as biblical, shall we say.
Oh, I like it.
Well, actually, living in London, my mother had read an article in probably whatever, the London Times, about Talitha Paul, who was a very beautiful artist, and she was marrying one of the Gettys. And so Talitha Paul became Talitha Getty, and she was immensely talented and very beautiful, and so my mother thought, well, that's going to be my daughter.
That's right.
But she died of a heroin overdose when I was 4 years old, and so I've only followed after her in name only.
Oh, perfect. Well, you're absolutely beautiful. So tell me, how long have you been practicing law?
Well, I got my my license in 2009, November 2009, and set up my family law practice at the kitchen table.
Oh my God.
I knew when I went to law school that I was going to do family law,
Mhm.
and that's where my heart has been since the first day of law school, actually, since taking the LSAT. And so I, knowing that I didn't have experience, I just did all pro bono work at first, and word of mouth. And then I got busy,
Okay.
so I had to bring some people in to help me. I had some volunteers, and then eventually paying clients got referred in, and by that point I felt, I had the experience that it was appropriate to charge somebody. So the practice was set up as family law. It was the whole conception of law school was family law for me, and I know
How
that's
did
pretty
you
rare.
know that you wanted to do family law? I mean, when I was not a little girl, but when I was young, when I was 15, I wanted to become a lawyer. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. However, at 15, I wanted to be a criminal lawyer because I wanted to protect people and, guard them from injustices. And then not only when I got older and actually started working as a paralegal did I fall in love with family law. I had a little taste of criminal, and it scared me.
Well, family law scares a lot of people too. But for me, well, my undergrad was in psychology, and my history, my work history before going to law school was sort of corporate America, sales, marketing, and customer service. And over the course of those years, I'd witnessed individuals I know and love go through divorce and become victims of what I call the churn and burn family law mill,
Wow.
where they're referred to, these very well-known law firms that do family law in Los Angeles. They pay a fortune, huge hourly rates. Several years go by, they spend a whole bunch of their savings, their 401k, and then, they've gotten nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it just occurred to me that if I took the same business perspective that I had from, my work, and then my passion for people and my empathy for their situation, and then my character, which has been very much formed since I was this big, which was not to permit anyone to bully others. People bully when they can,
Right.
when it's in them, but when they can, people who will take advantage of someone who's weaker than they are.
You're a protector.
I mean, I've always been like that. Even when I was little, I would get in the middle of a bully,
Right.
in school, and I wasn't really clear on how much family law would put me in a unique position of preventing people from being bullied and righting wrongs, but it in fact has. And so it's become sort of this perfect marriage, ironically, of all of those different areas of my life where I'm actually able to take the law, take all of those skills from the past and my empathy for people, and not fix their problems, because only people can fix their own problems, but fix their legal problems and advocate for them in a way that a judge will listen and make rulings in our favor.
Now, that's one of the really nice things about your law firm, is that not only are you an excellent litigator, you also believe in mediation. So that's wonderful.
I strongly believe in mediation and settlement, mostly because it's in the client's best interest, and particularly when there's children involved.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a child custody issue, parents who are fighting, I mean, litigation is war, no matter how you slice it.
Exactly.
There's no way to be litigating and not be in an adversarial position and angry at each other, because you're taking adversarial positions. And you have a child in the middle. Children are little sponges. They know what's going on. And even when parents think they're protecting the children, they're really not. By being in the litigation in and of itself, it's affecting those children. So if and when we can, and even if it's about just property settlement, even if it's just money and it's not about children, it's still in the client's best interest to settle, because you can fight and you can give all your money to attorneys, or you can say, okay, if we just settle this, I don't like you anymore, and let me just give you this. It's still not going to be as much as I'm going to give these attorneys. Or alternatively, it's the same as what I'm going to give these attorneys if we litigate all the way through trial and post-trial and then maybe even appeal.
Oh my God.
Or I can just give it to you, get on with my life, rear view mirror, it's over, and you have your life back, you have your mind back, you have your nerves back. Right? You can really move on, right?
Absolutely. Oh, that's perfect.
Right.
That is absolutely perfect. So, what is the most interesting case that you've had? Oh, and I want to plug this in too. The other thing, there are so many facets about you that are interesting, and you're so unique. One of the things I know about you is that with that big heart of yours, you also love animals. So you're an animal advocate. You love dogs.
I do. Actually, I love anything furry, which is an interesting twist and trick, because I'm actually allergic to everything furry.
Oh my God.
So I have to take Claritin every day to protect me from myself, because I see something furry, I have to pet it immediately. So I don't think there's an answer to the question of what's my most interesting case, because they're all interesting. I've had one case about a dog, which was a little bit crazy. I received a phone call. This dog was going to be killed because it had bitten a child. And the law says a dog has sort of a defense against a bite under two conditions. One is if I'm trespassing on your property, your dog bites me while I was trespassing, it was my fault.
Okay.
The second is if I'm antagonizing that dog. Okay. In this instance, this dog was being electrocuted by these kids that were torturing it.
Oh my God.
And it bit. And so I was asked to come in and help save this dog's life. And it's a very, very long, convoluted story, which required actually going to the Court of Appeal on a writ an emergency writ within 17 hours to save his life, and we did it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, to this day, let's just say it was a sleepless night, but to this day is one of my most favorite cases, because I know that dog is alive and is living happily ever after, and really is a very good dog.
Aww.
In terms of custody cases,
Okay.
I had one case that was, this is back in my pro bono days, where a lady was referred to me. There was a system in place that, let's say, things didn't work out the way they were supposed to through DCFS. There was no protective order put in place for this child.
And for people in our audience who might not know what DCFS is, what would that be?
Well, that would be the Department of Child and Family Services.
Okay.
And it's part of the county where social workers will come out and they will, if there's a referral made in by somebody who has a concern for a child, say for sexual abuse or physical abuse or negligence.
Okay.
And I'm not bashing on DCFS by any stretch. The bottom line is that there's only so many social workers,
Right.
and there's millions of referrals,
Right.
and so as a practical matter, that's pure triage for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see a child and there's not broken bones and there's no blood and there's no, they have to focus on those cases because those cases are there.
Right.
So in cases where you don't, they find, well, there could be something, but not enough for us to take action.
Okay.
This was a case where actually the father had been sexually abusing this child, but he was autistic, this little boy, and he didn't speak. So he wasn't able to tell anybody, and the parents were divorced. But he was learning in the special therapy that autistic children have called floor time therapy.
Okay.
And it involves sort of playing and movement and sometimes drawing. Well, this little boy started to draw pictures, and they were disturbing. And DCFS did not think that this rose to the level of something that they could do anything about. And the mother was recommended to ask a family law attorney to seek a restraining order. So she was referred to me as the person that was doing the stuff without being paid.
Okay.
And so we did a really thorough review of the case, and we found out that the father of this child had a prior divorce, and in the pleadings that were part of the court record and the judgment,
Okay.
the judgment provided that he could not be around the children of that marriage
Okay.
without being supervised.
Excellent work.
So we then put that into evidence, asked the court to take judicial notice of that, and we also, impeached the father on many other things, and the court granted the restraining order against the father on behalf of the child, and so the child was then protected. And to my knowledge, he didn't try to come back and seek visitation since then. But so to this day, the mother still sends me checks. I don't know, it's probably $5 a month for the cost of the case, because those costs, the clients do have to pay their own costs.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, so that was that was for my first trial, and certainly a very a day where I felt like I'd made a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you make a difference every day. There's no midway with you. Okay.
No, that's a true statement. It's a 0 or 100 miles an hour. There's no in between.
That's wonderful. That's great. It's very hard work, and you're pulling it off. So that is just amazing. The other thing that I find interesting, and we're going to talk about that on a second show, is that your last name is very interesting, and as a beautiful lady, we have these law books here, and let's just warn the audience, anytime if you go into any attorney's office and you don't see these books, run, just run, because this is the Bible of the legal profession. This is the Rudder Group Practice Guide, and on this set that we have here, it's federal. There's a very interesting name on here that happens to be the same as yours.
Right.
And this gentleman is absolutely wonderful. He wrote these. And he has my utmost respect. He has great taste in picking a marriage partner, and my God, when I look at this, it's like the Bible. I'm a pastor's daughter. So when I see this is the Bible of the legal profession, and we must thank Mr. William E. Wegner for doing this. I mean, he's just absolutely fabulous. I've been blessed to have judges on this show, and when I look at this, it just thrills me, you know. So thank you so much for allowing us the honor of just being in our presence, and we're going to thank him for doing the show too. But you are spectacular. What kind of woman are you that you roped a man like this?
A woman that had no idea what these books were. Let's put it that way. Because I didn't know what that was until I went well, maybe even after law school.
It's just fabulous. It is just fabulous. Well, like I said, you have so much charisma and purpose and passion for what you do. What do you think? We know that you're a fabulous attorney, and you're the president of your firm. So what would you say to someone else who wants to go to law school? What would make a good attorney?
I think loving the law.
Okay.
I think in effect I feel like what makes a difference for me practicing and for my partner Chloe, a woman who's a phenomenal attorney.
Yes.
I think that the difference for us, and I have to credit Bill, my husband, with sort of watching him litigate in a much bigger sphere. You know, he practices in federal courts and business litigation, but massive cases, was to lead with the law. And at our firm, we do lead with the law. And the attorneys who go to law school, the people that have gone to law school and who don't truly love the law,
right,
they're not happy practicing. And I do think that it comes through. You can see when somebody really is into it, let's say.
Right.
They really love the law, they really love the nuances of the law, the cases. They want to get it right.
Absolutely.
More than they want to win. And look, when you're litigating, of course you want to win on behalf of your client, but most of the time when you're really focused on getting it right, you're not going to litigate an issue that you know you're wrong on. That's an issue you should settle on. And in my experience,
that's
anyway,
beautiful. You want to get it right instead of winning. You want to get it right. I like that.
And look, if you're not right, then why are you litigating that? That's not the right thing to do for your client. And I have to say that there's been a few cases where we have had to go to trial, and the only reason why we went to trial is because the other parties' positions were so outrageously unreasonable that not only did we have nothing to lose by going to trial, but we had a lot to gain by going to trial, even in the face of making very generous settlement offers that were rebuffed. And we have two very recent cases where, I mean, the opposing positions were really quite silly.
Okay.
And not only did we win, but when we counted for our clients what they would have paid based on the generous settlement offer versus what they ended up paying after trial, including attorney's fees, in each of those cases our client was ahead.
Wow.
Which just goes to show you just how outrageous the other side's positions were. In those situations, you try. When you don't have the law and the facts on your side, you're foolish to litigate those issues because your client's going to end up paying the tab.
Wow. Now that's true wisdom. I like this. I like you. You know?
Thank you.
I think you are just so perfect, you know? And I love the fact that you look like this and you practice law so passionately. I love your heels. You're just so petite and perfect.
Well, thanks. The heels can be a liability opposite. Normally in court, the judges or the commissioners will invite you to sit down. I had a hearing quite recently, and I am not a very tall person, and so I find that the heels elevate me in the world. And so I'm in the courtroom, and this particular commissioner did not invite either counsel to sit down. And so we were arguing straight for, I don't know, it seemed like a year, but it was probably like an hour and 40 minutes before there was a break. And literally when it was break time, I mean, I wasn't sure if my legs were going to move, let alone my feet. So I did buy one pair of flat shoes just for appearances in front of that commissioner. I'll go short in front of that commission. How's
Okay,
that?
okay, all right. Oh, that's you. You are something else. Now we've talked about the cases. Um, when what are you most proud of?
Wow. I think that my firm, which started, at the kitchen table with me, sort of, sometimes in my pajamas and, a notepad and a computer. But I think now when I look at my firm and I see, my partner, who's a recent partner, the quality of the work we're turning out, and,
Oh, yes.
and the reputation. Like there's a website that attorneys are rated on where people do their reviews of Avo.
Uh-huh.
And, when I read those client reviews, it really touches me. It sounds so, I don't know, corny, for lack of a better word. But each one of those reviews was really a personal case where we really invested all this time and effort and detail. And then there it is, sort of this little soundbite from a client saying, this is what this meant to me. And now over the years, there's been a number of them. And, I still get emails and phone calls from clients from the days of the kitchen table,
Mm-hmm.
and still, saying, wow, this really changed my life, or that little piece of information or that little piece of advice is still with me. And some of those clients, not all of them, but some of them have actually become really close friends. And so that's, those are the things, as having sort of a reputation of having integrity and of doing good work and having that reputation in the community build. I don't think there's really more an attorney or a law firm could ask for.
Now that's excellent, and that's what we all want. I unfortunately, the good thing is I have been a paralegal for 17 years, and I've only met 2 people that I would say throw up a sign for caution, and neither, well, he hasn't been on this show, thank God. But it was like they forgot. They didn't have passion for the law. They were more interested in the money. And one gentleman was walking down the hallway at one point. This was, well, I won't say what's in Beverly Hills, but there are great attorneys in Beverly Hills. But this one particular person, and they weren't in family law, and I heard this horrible scream, and I looked out of the office and I said, "What's wrong?" And at that point, he said, "Oh my God, they've stopped fighting." No. He's like, fight, you so and so, fight, because
that
of course,
really happened?
yeah,
Oh, that's so
he
depressing.
was making money off of the litigation. So the last thing he wanted was for them not to fight.
Wow,
So
that's
it,
really depressing.
oh, it was hilarious. So I guess he was wondering, so what's going to happen to my house and my boat, but
Wow.
so but yes, so the whole point of law, most of the time people are coming to you with their hearts and their hard earnings, and they want you to protect them and just fix this, make this right for me.
Right.
So
I think that's a big difference between sort of corporate work and business litigation. And our clients are literally, like if they're writing the check, the gas bill, the cable, and then my lawyer. I mean,
Right.
that's coming out of their earnings, their wallet. It's not someone else's money, sort of thing. And they really are. I mean, when you're going through a divorce, for most people,
Mhm.
that's one of the lowest points of their life. They're at their worst emotionally, their weakest, their most, vulnerable, let's say.
all right.
And, that's why family law attorneys particularly really need to have a very strong regard for the rules of professional responsibility and ethics, because this is a very vulnerable person that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And it's very important that you're not, paying attention to your financial situation, but paying attention to what's best for the client. And that's why, particularly as we were discussing earlier, mediation and settlement, if you can do it,
Right.
you should do it.
Absolutely. And that was one of the notes that I had the opportunity to talk with a public defender on the show. And I stated, and I guess she missed it, I said that was one of the things they told me when I was going to school, was that you will find In criminal law, some of your worst people at their best, because they want to come in presentable in their suits and ties and everything. And in family law, you find some of your best people at their worst, because now you're in their bedroom.
Right.
You know, you're at the heart of their home core,
Right.
where they should feel safe and secure and loved.
Right.
And when you get a man or a woman who's been betrayed by someone that they really loved and trusted, and now you've got these children, or not, just,
Right.
you know, the heart itself is very tender. It's a very, very tender situation. And I think the best attorneys, like yourself, are very sensitive to that situation.
If you think about, I mean, when you go home at night, right, your home is your haven. I mean, even if it's imperfect, it's where you go to unwind. You put on, you know, your snuggle pants, you relax.
Right.
I think that one of the big stresses of divorce is that your haven has been upset. Then you add the financial chaos, the worry about children if you have them, and then add in there potentially betrayal or guilt, all of those things coming together. If you don't have that haven feeling, that place to go and go home and unwind, the level of stress is massive. In concert with all of those other issues I mentioned, you really have somebody who's under a massive amount of stress, in addition to, you know, all the other stresses of daily life that we all suffer in it. And that's, I think, one of the most important things to remember about family law clients. And like you said, these are generally very good people coming to you at a very low or their worst point. And
Yes.
and that, I think, is the reason why pushing for mediation, pushing for the client to focus on the long term rather than the short term, you know, feel good of, you know, get back at them or make them feel guilty, or really focus on, okay, what is your long term goal here? It really helps them to see beyond the mess that they're in and out to sort of the next horizon.
Now, we have about a minute and a half left. So, would you choose? You're just a passionate young lady, woman, beautiful woman. Animals, the practice, or family law, which do you prefer?
Family law.
Okay.
I mean, look, I love animals, but the animal litigation is a completely different animal. You know, no pun intended, or pun intended.
Okay. All right.
I just, you know, I love animals, but for me, that's a very emotional area. I'm not able to detach from animals in the way I am from people. I'm able to see the situation with the custody and without.
You are pure energy. If you're detached from people, you work hard. I can see it.
Yeah, I don't feel the same. It's a very emotional thing for me. I get too overly emotionally involved when it comes to an animal. Perhaps that's because they don't have a voice of their own.
So you're protecting, yeah.
Right? But and in a way, children don't, but they do have a voice, and we have avenues for them. We have, you know, minors counsel, we have child custody evaluations. I don't feel like they're truly voiceless, and it's part of my job to give them a voice. But with animals, you don't really know. And so for me, I find that my talents are best utilized in family law. I feel like that's where my true passion is for the law.
You are magnificent. I want to thank you for being here, Talitha Wegner, and you are fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Join us next week on From the Halls of Justice, and we will be talking about the wonderful gentleman who's married to this wonderful lady. Rudder Group Practice Guide, William E. Wegner and Talitha Wegner.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. You're awesome.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah. And they're also, those animals are lucky to have someone who's so passionate to take care of them too. So, you are just something